right? Mr. President, my esteemed colleagues, not too long ago, we were treated to television and movie series that kept us glued to our seats, waiting for the next episode and unexpected turn of events. The trend then went towards reality shows. The more outrageous, the more challenging, the better for viewership and ad sales. Now, the latest blockbuster teleserie has gone to the halls of Congress, Mr. President, featuring real and true-to-life convicts telling stories about the life of the rich and famous behind prison walls. It is about them, Mr. President. Unbelievable, but true, Mr. President. To me, it is in essence a crime story. There may be plots, subplots, but really, it is a breakdown of our penitentiary system. Where in the world do we have convicts running the penitentiary? Right here, Mr. President. Only in the Philippines. I know the expression, grandes malos, grandes remedios. Mr. President, great problems need great remedies. However, I stand before you today to propose a new strategy. Great problems, simple remedies. I have been monitoring closely the hearings of the House of Representatives on their Committee on Justice. Our Committee on Justice has been conducting hearings. They have already, I think, conducted 3 or 4 hearings. And it was concentrated on the issue of extrajudicial killings, as they call it. In the House of Representatives, they were concentrating on the drug trade in the National Bilibid prison. Now, they have taken up many issues, many sidelines. But for me, there are 2 standouts in the issues that have been unaddressed in the House of Representatives. Issues that I have been crying out loud all along. First, the untraceable SIM card registration. It is obvious now, Mr. President, and I'm talking about the mobile phones, particularly prepaid SIM cards, that any person could easily avail. It is the #1 tool of the drug dealers in the National Penitentiary. The use of a SIM card in aid of a crime is not a new story. We know very well that mobile phones have been used as countless times to perpetrate crimes such as bombing, kidnapping, fraud, drug trade, where communication is the key. This freedom of availing prepaid SIM cards and its effect could be felt even in a small community. Kung may kaaway ka, pwede kang bumili ng SIM card sa tindahan at mag-text ka ng kung ano-ano sa kaaway mo. Ayun ang nangyayari sa atin, Mr. President. As early as 1999 and all the way to the year 2000, when I was chairman of the Committee on Public Services in the Senate, we already asked the National Telecommunications Commission to look into the matter, and they agreed, and they issued a directive asking all telecom companies to register their prepaid SIM cards. The telecom companies went to the Supreme Court and was able to get a TRO, or a temporary restraining order. The temporary restraining order lasted for 2 decades, Mr. President. It has only been lifted a few years ago. And that is why here we are now. And obviously, through the hearings in the House, you can see now how important this issue is. I've been asked on why the telecoms refuse to register the prepaid SIM cards. They have so many reasons, but most of the reasons that they have expounded on are full of holes. Once they said it is very difficult to register 100 million prepaid SIM cards, 100 million are all over the country now. But Mr. President, how can that be difficult? When somebody in Sultan Kudarat who has a prepaid SIM card na wala ng load, hindi na niya nagagamit dahil na-cancel nyo. At pag naglagay siya ng load, alam ninyo. Pag naglagay na siya ng load, kahit saan lupalot ka sa Pilipinas, aandar yung cellphone mo o yung SIM card mo. Therefore, naka-register ka sa kanila. Yung numero mo, ayaw lang nilang i-register. So, all the other reasons are invalid, Mr. President. I now call on our colleagues to make this a center of one of our pieces of legislation that we should come up in the 17th Congress, and if possible, as soon as possible. Some of our colleagues here have been victims of nasty texts, nasty comments, insults. Most of us. The other day, Senator Binay approached me and said, "When are we going to register the prepaid SIM cards?" Why? I received again a death threat. She told me that she received a death threat. The same thing with Senator De Lima. And all these texts come from prepaid SIM cards, untraceable. That is the reason that when a bomb explodes and a cell phone is used, the SIM card, even if could be recovered by the authorities, could not be traced. There's not even a starting point on where to investigate kung saan nabili yung SIM card na yun at sino bumili. Now, Mr. President, the second issue I want to bring up, and this is another point that was really raised in the hearings of the House of Representatives, is recent news events that have been confirmed in that hearing and proven that the failure of present treatment program and detention security measures of the Bureau of Corrections in the matter of containing and preventing high-level illegal drugs inmates from continuing their possession, trading, and trafficking of illegal drugs while under detention. Hence, Mr. President, I have filed a bill for the creation of a separate penal institution for high-level offenders. The objectives of this measure are, first, to keep the high-level illegal drug offenders in a separate penal facility and sever any existing influence on other inmates, and to provide the high-level drug offenders who are drug dependents themselves an effective drug rehabilitation program as an essential part of their reformation in preparation for their life outside the penitentiary. Mr. President, I have been saying this for years, and obviously now it's what the congressmen have realized. I've heard most of them now saying that that is what we need to do, especially in the absence of a death penalty law. They will not be able to operate in the absence of a death penalty law. This is the best answer, Mr. President. As I said, big problems, we can come up with simple remedies. So, I hope we pay attention to these two outstanding problems. And we have two bills in the Senate, including three bills, including the bill of Senator Lacson, which states the same. And we have what we need. We do not need the advice of criminals. I've been hearing a House of Representatives asking the criminals what to do. We don't need the advice of the criminals, Mr. President. We know what to do. We know what should be done. Let's do it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Sotto. What's the pleasure of Senator Lacson?
Thank you, Mr. President. With the gentleman from Quezon City, the Honorable Majority Leader, yield to a few questions. First, I'd like to commend and congratulate our gentleman for issuing a call to our colleagues to prioritize the passage of the bill filed by the gentleman and this representation, and Senator Legarda as well. I believe it was referred, or the bills were referred to the Committee on Public Services, and I just hope that sooner than later we'll be scheduling a hearing for the purpose. Now, my first question, Your Honor, is why would people be attracted to purchasing SIM cards?
For SIM cards, for pure communication purposes, Mr. President.
No, because we can always purchase postpaid SIM cards. Why would people be attracted to purchasing prepaid SIM cards?
Okay, your question is on
My next question is, and it's related to the first question, how many prepaid SIM cards do you have?
Okay. Perhaps the first answer, or the answer to the first question would be, it's easily procured. You can buy it in any sari-sari store, and it's untraceable. The answer to this question, I have no prepaid SIM card, Mr. President.
Good to hear that, because I suppose the other reason for purchasing SIM card, aside from the convenience, is you're doing some foolishness.
Yes, Mr. President, I am glad that I am the author of the book entitled Clean Living.
My next question is, what does SIM stand for? It is an acronym for what?
You caught me there, Mr. President.
Subscriber Identity Module card, Mr.
Thank you
President.
for the information, Mr. President. Subscriber
Identity Module.
Identity Module.
Now, assuming that we pass these bills pending in the committee of Senator Grace, what will happen to the prepaid SIM cards already out in the market, in the possession of purchasers?
My proposal, Mr. President, is that the telecom companies text blast these prepaid SIM cards and tell them to register in their barangays. At the very least, in the barangays. If they do not respond within, say, 30 days or 60 days, and this could be included in the IRR that can be presented after our bill is passed. If they do not respond, then you cut it off.
How can you cut off when there are no records, Mr. President?
No, they can't.
It's over the counter.
No, they can, Mr. President. That's the secret. They have registered. They have these numbers registered. As a matter of fact, kahit saan ka pumunta sa Pilipinas, pag bili mo ng SIM card, kahit na nung isang taon pa yung SIM card mo, kung walang laman, hindi umaandar. Alam nila. Pero oras na nag-load ka, magagamit mo. Alam nila. Therefore, naka-register ka. Naka-register yung SIM card. The number is registered. Therefore, all of these numbers, they can text blast easily. These 100 million SIM cards. Kung 100 million ang prepaid SIM cards, I mean. By the way, Mr. President, the other concern they mentioned, or the other reason they said, is that there are people who complain that their right to privacy will be invaded. Their right to privacy will be invaded if they have to register their prepaid SIM card. And the answer to that is, what about us postpaid SIM cards? We have no right to privacy. Only prepaid SIM cards holders have the right to privacy.
In other words, Mr. President, the constitutionality, once we pass this into law, there's no constitutional infirmity involved.
Yes.
And the telcos cannot go to the Supreme Court to question the constitutionality of the law, assuming that to be passive.
I suppose so, Mr. President, and perhaps that's the reason why the Supreme Court lifted the TRO finally.
So what personal information should appear when we register our prepaid SIM card, Mr. President?
Well, I believe a verified identification is enough. You don't need a passport, perhaps. Passport, an ID, any government ID, driver's license, anything that can register. Because the important thing is that there is a starting point, Mr. President. Pwede nila sabihin, yung SIM card nanakaw eh. Nanakaw lang yung SIM card ko, kaya hindi ako gumamit niyan. Again, the police has a starting point. Saan ka nanakawan? Saan nanakaw yung cellphone mo? Kailan nanakaw? At least may starting point na paghahanap kung pinagmulan na yon. Samantalang sa ngayon, bulag na bulag po tayo. Yung bombing sa Makati, yung bombing sa Davao, at lahat po will make, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The obvious intent of your proposal, and it is mine also, because I have filed a bill on this, is to really put a handle on accountability. Tama po ba yan?
Correct.
In other words, pagka meron kang SIM card, hindi porke may SIM card ka, you have the right to have a SIM card. But you also have a duty to be accountable. For example, mati-trace po yan. At tulad na sinabi niyo, pagka may nagpaputok ng bomba, di po ba?
Opo.
Ang kaibahan na po ata na sinasabi niyo, yung objective is that you will make them register sa barangay. Is that correct? If I want to be sure about that.
Yes, for the existing SIM cards. Because when we took this up in one of the hearings that was conducted in public services, the telecom companies, the telecommunication companies, said that they can do it for prospectively.
Yes.
And cannot retroactively do it. But I said, why not? They said it'll be difficult to register 100 million. I said, you know, it's registered in your number, in your database. It is registered in their database. All they have to do is text plus and say you register. If you do not register, we will cut you off.
Good point, Mr. President, because I believe that if there is an objective on our part to make sure that we inculcate or exact accountability, dapat yung ring nagtitinda ng SIM card all the way from the retailer all the way to the owner of the company must have accountability, because if something catastrophic happens, at least there will be a starting point for people to trace who it belongs to.
Correct, sir.
And if we not do that, we believe that we are creating a culture of impunity where people can just text people, threaten them, you know, go onto into their privacy and do all kinds of things so that you create practically a culture of impunity where nobody is responsible for their acts. Do you agree with me on that?
Precisely what is happening now. I do agree with you.
Thank you. Having said that, so there will be really no reason for the there will be no expense really on the part of the telcos to put in this additional feature that when they buy, they can actually register the card for those who are about to buy or get new cards. And the only thing that they would have to do by way of expense is to catch those that have already gotten SIM cards and they want to be loyal to that number, so that eventually all this will be now registered by the telcos, and that if we need to reckon with some nefarious activities or nefarious activities, you will be able to trace right away.
Yes, correct, Mr. President.
Then, Mr. President, I'd like to commend the gentleman from the majority floor leader, who I believe we share the same objective, inculcating accountability and making sure our country will be safe, because after all, that is part of our responsibility. Like I said, I have my own bill. We will again ask the Committee on Public Services to facilitate, with all due respect, the hearings on this matter, so that we can put a stop to this growing culture of impunity and danger upon our country. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to the gentleman from Zambales.
Senator Villar.
I was yield to the lady senator.
Senator Villar is recognized.
I would like to manifest my support to this bill of requiring the registration of SIM cards by subscriber, because it is a bad experience for us in Villar Foundation. Everybody is texting everybody that they won a house and lot from Villar Foundation, and we have no such thing. And the problem is they're asking money from the winners to give them money to be able to claim the prize. And I have to reimburse so many people because they gave money to claim the prize. So I'm very supportive of the bill of Senator Gordon, Senator Sotto, and Senator Villar. So thank you very much.
Senator Zubiri, Mr. President.
Senator Zubiri is recognized.
Mr. President, mine is just a manifestation of support. I completely agree totally with the statements, the views of the Honorable Majority Floor Leader. Mr. President, not only can we help solve crime without terrorism as well, the bombing incident in Davao, the detonation was done through a cell phone unit, and if we can actually get the numbers, if it was properly registered, we would have a lead on the terrorists that perpetrated that crime, Mr. President. Also, as mentioned by Senator Villar, not only is it being used for scams, it is also being used as a tool for threats. Many of us here have received death threats one way or another, one form or another, using these type of prepaid cell phones. And I can clearly recall when I was a congressman, when I was receiving these type of threats, I had contacted Smart because it was a Smart number. And the answer of Smart to me was, this is a prepaid number, we do not have the information of the owners of these cell phones, although we can triangulate. So they were able to tell me the locations where these texts were sent. But unfortunately, the locations are such a large area. This particular location was in the Commonwealth area in Quezon City, where millions of people live. So useless din po. So I'm in full support of this, Mr. President. We'd like to request also the chairperson of the Public Services Committee to hear it, and definitely she'll get full support from this representation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Zubiri. Senator Drilon is recognized.
Would you gentlemen here just a review?
Or in IT, you have to sometimes they even ask for a credit card. It's like a postpaid card, Mr. President, when you buy abroad. It's only in the Philippines that you can buy a prepaid SIM card in a sari-sari store.
And when you receive the message from a prepaid SIM card, would the sender be identified? Or only the number?
Only the number, Mr. President, unless you know that number and you have registered it in your phone.
Now, if you don't, can you inquire from the telephone company who sent the message? Since it is now
You can indeed inquire, but I doubt if they will give you the person behind it. They would not know because it would not be registered with them. The number would only be registered, yes.
If the number, assuming that we pass the bill that you sponsor, which I would like to place on record, we are supporting, would the recipient of the spam or the message be identified in your phone?
Not in your phone, but with the telecom company.
So you will receive the number, just the number?
Yes.
Now, and this is in other jurisdictions, of the registration of the SIM card is automatic when you purchase a SIM card.
The same thing happens, except that in those jurisdictions, they are registered.
And would you be required to go to court in order to know the identity of the sender?
I would not have the answer to that, Mr. President.
In your proposed measure, Mr. President, would you have to go to court if you want to know who sent the message?
I do not think it is contained in my proposed bill. We can consider that. We may be able to consider that. Or as a matter of fact, if we do not include it in the bill, it may be included in the IRR.
If there is no basic...
May I know the intent of the gentleman?
Well, because
do you want it to be easy to
No, when I receive a libelous message or a threatening message, and I only see the number, how do I trace who committed this offense, this crime?
I don't think we should make it difficult, Mr. President. I think we should leave it to the discretion of the telecom company. May I check on the section 10 of my bill?
Please, yes.
I have something to that effect, but let me... All right. Section 10 is disclosure of information. Notwithstanding these provisions of Section 9, and Section 9 is confidentiality. The mobile phone service providers shall be required to provide information contained in the SIM card registration only upon order of a competent court upon finding of probable cause that a particular number is used in the commission of a crime or that it was utilized as a means to commit an unlawful act. Although well, it seems that the answer to your question is yes.
We have to go to court.
You have to go to court unless you would want to make this easier.
Because, for example, if a threat is made on me through my phone, what I see is the number.
110 prepaid SIM cards. Kaya po dito, kahit na isang goal, may prepaid SIM card. So, talaga hong marami hong double. Parang nabasa ko, 110 million floating prepaid SIM cards at any given time. 110 po. If our population is 100, including infants and child, then you can, parang meron pong prepaid SIM card po yung mga bata at sanggol. And that's in the research that we called during the deliberation of the said law. But my question, Majority Floor, is if ever this bill gets approved and is passed by Congress and the Senate, which department will enforce this bill?
Well, the NTC, Mr. President, that will be under the Department of Communications.
The newly created Department of Information and Communications Technology.
Yes, offhand, that is how I look
I
at
don't
it.
know if the Majority Floor Leader remembers, during that hearing here in the Senate, the person who represented the telcos is Attorney Salalima, who is now the Secretary of the IDC.
And they were against.
They were against. In fact, you scolded them, I remember. Natakot rin po ako when you scolded them, but I remember you really put emphasis on the security and also the harassment being conducted using the prepaid SIM card. But at that time, I don't know if you remember, Majority.
Yes, I do remember now. In that case, Mr. President, it's a good thing that Secretary Salalima will pass the commission on appointments first.
But I think that's something to ponder upon, Mr. President, and I'm in full support of the registration of prepaid SIM card. And in fact, this is really one of the modern gadgets now being used by terrorists all over the world. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Gibson. Senator De Lima, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is both a manifestation and interpellation. So was the Majority Floor Leader yield?
Certainly, Mr. President.
Thank you. I'm here to express my appreciation and also to throw in my support to the bill requiring mandatory registration, even of prepaid SIM cards. I'm a clear victim of this hate messages and even death threats, especially from the time that that House committee has recklessly revealed my cell phone number. Up to last night, I've been receiving those nasty texts, including death threats, and some of those numbers, whom I know are really prepaid, well, were also calling me, but I would of course not pick up. I will not of course answer them. So I'm throwing my full support to that bill. And let me also add that this particular bill, in my view, because I expressed this already, I expressed an opinion then in my capacity as Secretary of Justice that this will be perfectly justified under the exercise of the police power of the state. So even if there is a contract here between the subscribers, the buyers of the SIM cards on one hand, and the telcos companies, the service providers on the other hand, that contract can very well yield and be subservient to the police power of the state, because certainly there is a compelling state interest here, fighting criminality, fighting terrorism, when we so demand for the exercise of police power, subject of course to the proper safeguards against possible abuse or misuse of the information that may be gathered from a mandatory registration of the SIM cards. So this is perfectly valid. I can always share with the proponents of the bill my views on the matter as I articulated and put in writing when I was asked for my opinion on the matter. Second, with respect to the proposal of the Majority Floor Leader for a separate detention facility for the hardcore drug convicts, hardcore high-profile drug lords or drug convicts, in principle, I also support that. But may I just ask whether the Majority Floor Leader is aware of the plan to transfer the Bilibid from its current location to Fort Magsaysay in Nueva Ecija? Because we pushed for that when I was still with the DOJ and the Executive Department. The President has, former President has supported it. And even if initially the current President was not for it, I understand from Secretary Aguirre that the President now has actually given also a go signal for that plan to transfer to a new facility in Laur, in Fort Magsaysay, Nueva Ecija. So is the Majority Floor Leader of that? Because while he is proposing some kind of Alcatraz-like facility, which I think is not necessary, because an Alcatraz-like facility is a rejection of the restorative philosophy behind our correctional system. I would still push for a separate detention facility.
But in answer to the distinguished lady, I know of the plan to transfer Muntinlupa or the National Bilibid prisons to Fort Magsaysay in Lower Nueva Ecija. As a matter of fact, even before that, I was proposing, it was during the time of President Estrada, I was proposing that we should remove the National Bilibid prisons there and and regionalize it. Let me go first to the Muntinlupa issue. I was thinking then that if we remove it, the NBP, the government can make a lot of money sending the entire area to universities and make it a university belt. It will be a growth corridor, Mr. President, instead of having the convicts and the criminals there. But our proposal then was for a regional penitentiary. Senator Drilon knows this. Either he was chairman of finance or the Senate President then, when I submitted to him a study from the University of the Philippines wherein it says that the best way to handle the prison system in the Philippines is to regionalize it. Because based on research, itong mga nakukulong na preso, lalo na yung mga bagong preso, oras na hindi na dinadalaw ng pamilya, doon na nag-uumpisa magloko. Nagiging tarantado na, sumasali na rin sa mga gang at kung ano-ano ginagawa ng kagaguhan. Pagka hindi na dinadalaw. Pero pag dinadalaw, iba ho ang dating. Eh ngayon, kung taga-Sultang Kudarat, nakulong sa Muntinlupa, how do you expect them to visit the family even once a year? Baka hindi kaya. Kaya po yung study na yun ay maganda na dapat i-regionalize. Kaya medyo I agree with Fort Magsaysay, but medyo nalulungkot ako ng konti, Mr. President, because they should have instead studied regionalizing instead of that. Mas madali pa po yung sinasabing segregation. Now, going to the issue that I brought up earlier, let me describe the context of why I was proposing an Alcatraz type. Sa media naman ang sabing Alcatraz and ako ang sabi ko po ibang klase, basta i-segregate yung mga high-level drug traffickers. Because there is no death penalty. My issue is, originally, I am for the reimposition of the death penalty for high-level drug trafficking. Now, for the record, in the 9th Congress, I was the principal author of the reimposition of the death penalty for drug trafficking. And as a matter of fact, I sponsored and delivered a turno and contra speech to Senator Joey Lina's proposal of life imprisonment to 30 years. Yun yung proposal niya nung una. But I delivered a turno and contra and proposed instead and sponsored reimposing the death penalty for high-level drug trafficking. Expression, grandes malos, grandes remedios. Mr. President, great problems need great remedies. However, I stand before you today to propose a new strategy. Great problems, simple remedies. I have been monitoring closely the hearings of the House of Representatives on their Committee on Justice. Our Committee on Justice have been conducting hearings. They have already, I think, conducted 3 or 4 hearings. And it was concentrated on the issue of extrajudicial killings, as they call it. In the House of Representatives, it is the #1 tool of the drug dealers in the National Penitentiary. The use of a SIM card in aid of a crime is not a new story. We know very well that mobile phones have been used as countless times to perpetrate crimes such as bombing, kidnapping, fraud, drug trade, where communication is the key. This freedom of availing prepaid SIM cards and its effect could be felt even in a small community. Kung may kaaway ka, pwede kang bumili ng SIM card. Mr. President, my esteemed colleagues, not too long ago, we were treated to television and movie series that kept us glued to our seats, waiting for the next episode and unexpected turn of events. The trend then went towards reality shows. The more outrageous, the more challenging, the better for viewership and ad sales. Now, the latest blockbuster teleserie has gone to the halls of Congress, Mr. President, featuring real and true-to-life convicts telling stories about the life of the rich and famous behind prison walls. It is about them, Mr. President. Unbelievable but true, Mr. President. To me, it is in essence a crime story. There may be plots, subplots, but really, it is a breakdown of our penitentiary system. Where in the world do we have convicts running the penitentiary? Right here, Mr. President. Only in the Philippines. I know this. They were concentrating on the drug trade in the National Bilibid Prison. Now they have taken up many issues, many sidelines. But for me, there are two standouts in the issues that have been unearthed in the House of Representatives. Issues that I have been crying out loud all along. First, the untraceable SIM card registration. It is obvious now, Mr. President, and I'm talking about the mobile phones, particularly prepaid SIM cards, that any person could easily avail.